What is going on, everybody? Today we're looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Superman vs. Godzilla pack. So this is another pack of our Monsterverse crossover with DC. So pretty cool to have Godzilla here. So nice big Godzilla, of course, with the more modern design they've been doing with the Kong, Godzilla, that sort of movies. Of course, get Superman again. So we get a Superman figure, just a normal DC figure, as well as like the more page puncher size, the little ones there. So you can, put them in the hands of the figures like we got with the Batman and King Kong version. So just looks pretty cool. Nice design for that Godzilla. I love Godzilla, so just see the big figure like this is awesome. Just want to show the sides and stuff, though, of course, from Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, and then just a picture there on the back, which is awesome. A Superman there flying eye to eye with Godzilla, so that just looks awesome. So I'm just super excited to check out this, mostly for that Godzilla figure. So let me go and get this open out of the box, and we'll take a look at it together. So we'll start off with this Superman, which is pretty nice Superman design, pretty basic stuff. The only thing we're good is like this yelling head on him, which is fine, especially for fighting against big monsters and kaiju and stuff. But for just a normal Superman, just like a more stoic or maybe a little smile face to him or something would be better. But looks good overall for the basic body. Now we do get a fabric cape on, so that's pretty nice with the metal wire all around it, with of course the S logo there on the back. We have the nice S logo painted on his chest with the darker blue, like pretty standard blue, but on the darker end of that spectrum there. But we get the nice, top, his red underwear with yellow belt. The blue legs continue down to the red boots there on his feet as well. So it looks pretty good. Just a pretty basic Superman design, but like I said, overall, we just get that yelling face, which I think overall for a yelling face is good. Just not something I'd really want for like Superman or anything. But moon-wise, his head will twist all the way around, look down that far and up that far. So pretty decent. Of course, can't look up enough for flying or anything, but, pretty decent movements there. Shoulders up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate around. Get the bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends up. Of course, real stiff there. We can bend it all the way up on itself there. Then we get the wrist that'll twist around and flex back and forth. Then to the ab crunch under the chest, crunch back and forth and twist around. And then at the waist should crunch a little there and twist all the way around. Then down to the hips will come up to 90 and to the sides of the splits there, which is nice. A little bit of a thigh twist, not much though. The double knee joint, that'll bend up that far to the back, so not too bad. Almost kicking himself in the butt. Then down to the foot rock back and forth and twist side to side with the toe joint on the end. So pretty good movements overall, the standard McFarlane, so not too bad there or anything. So it works out pretty nice for a Superman design. Now accessory-wise, he does come with additional hands, so he's got the fist hands, which of course for fighting and stuff, but he comes with the flying flat hands as well, so you get those if you want them. Of course, we get the base to put him on to keep him stable, so that'll keep him standing there. We also get the miniature Superman, so like I said, it's like the smaller page puncher design of Superman there, so that is pretty nice with the Superman. It looks pretty good, pretty much very similar, just in a much smaller form, similar design and all that. I think we get some moves. The head, moves a little there, side to side. The arms should move, so they move in and out a little and rotate around. Nothing. Oh, he does twist at the waist. Didn't think it looked like it, but yeah, twist at the waist just above the belt, and the thighs will come up there, so up to 90 and everything. And that feels like that's it for the leg movements, but yeah, nice red cape on the back. Just looks good as a miniature version of Superman. Of course, that goes along with the Batman that we got with the King Kong, so it looks pretty good there. So Batman and Superman now together in those little forms. And then finally, we get the card for him. So there's a nice picture of Superman there with the Godzilla in the background, so it looks pretty cool. And we get the little bit of the story on the back, which says the cataclysmic crossover event of the year is here as the DC universe clashes with the legendary monsters in the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Clark Kent is enjoying a night off with a very important dinner planned with his girlfriend Lois Lane when the entire city shudders under the weight of the monstrous Godzilla who emerges from the bay. What started as a routine clash between the Justice League and the Legion of Doom takes a dangerous turn when the wall between the worlds is breached, with Godzilla, Kong, and Monsterverse emerging on DC's Earth. So there's a good story explaining why there's a showdown between the monsters and superheroes here. So very nice overall for the Superman to come along with Godzilla. Of course, they just need a basic Superman thrown in, which they did a good job here. Like I said, everything's really nice about the body. Perfect Superman. Like I said, just the face, but I do really like that, especially for fighting and stuff. And of course, that came with Godzilla. So we have Godzilla here, which looks amazing. Love the look of this. Of course, I'm a big fan of, especially, I think it was the 2014 Godzilla movie and stuff. All the ones since that. Oh, and King Kong as well, his first movie. But all the movies after that, I've not really been a big fan of. But looks really good for this. Love this design for Godzilla that they're using more recently, though. So looks really good in a big figure form here. Of course, a nice big vinyl plastic. So pretty hollow inside, but it's still got a lot of weight to it. Large inside. It's hard to really get it fit into the camera here. But there's a look at Godzilla Godzilla's face. Love his like little red eyes and stuff there. We get the mouth that opens, a little bit open and closed, doesn't really close too much, but some little bit of movements in there and stuff. We get his nice spines all down the back, so nice big spikes and stuff. Of course, that over time will like glow different colors. Of course, all the scaling of his reptilian design and stuff just looks really good. So really nice there with his long tail as well. I think has a rubbery design. You can kind of get it bent. So we got it bent there to the side to like stand up and everything. Big feet there with claws, which is pretty cool. And of course, claws on his hands there as well. So just really nice design overall for this big Godzilla figure. Like I said, I'm a big fan of it from the movies and stuff. So really nice to have a representation of it here in a big figure form. Now he does have some movements, not a whole lot. The head does move a little, so it can really twist side to side mostly. You think it'd like look up and down a little bit, just very little movements to that. The arms will move as well, so it's hard. I think they keep getting stuck, but they move up and down a little. At least you can get it to move up and down there. So just a little bit of movements and like a little grip hand design there for him. Same with the legs, so just a little bit of movement back and forth. So just back and forth there, so you can get it adjusted to get him standing. And then the tail will twist around, and I think has some sort of a hinge, so a little bit back and forth there. So you get some additional movements, and like I said, does also have a bendy tail, so you can get it sort of bent around wherever you want it to as well to get him to stand up and all that. So nice big figure here, like I said, especially with like the vinyl plastic design. You don't really get a whole lot of movements or anything out of it, unfortunately, but it still works pretty decently. Like I said, unfortunately, it's not too much movements, but you know, works out just enough. So like with the hand there, we can take like Superman. He can like hold on to Superman and stuff. Like he captured him, and he can like hold on to Superman there like that. Maybe like he can get ready to like baby bite his head off or something. So you can do fun stuff like that with Godzilla, of course. And of course, we already had King Kong, as I mentioned, so we can bring in our Kong. So I have Kong versus Godzilla here. So here we got King Kong, which again was very similar, like figure design, vinyl plastic. So we have them face off against each other, and pretty nice how they're pretty much similar size. Godzilla's a little bit taller, but we have them facing off there as well. But very nice to have Kong and Godzilla in these forms. Absolutely love both of these, because like I said, I love the first Godzilla and King Kong movie, so that's why I'm just going to think of these two as not any of the other MonsterVerse movie stuff they've done with the face-off movies. So just think of them from their first two movies, where I enjoyed both of them quite a bit, and have them here face off against each other against our DC figures. And so with using a flight stand, we can kind of a face off there with Superman facing off against Godzilla as the pack is intended. So pretty cool for that overall. Like I said, Superman's just fine. Nothing wrong with this Superman at all. Really good figure. Like I said, just if you want the yelling head, this is a really good one for that. But for the rest of the basic body, really good figure for Superman. And then of course this Godzilla, like I said, I absolutely love. I love Godzilla. So have it in this form, like just this look and everything, design of the newer movies, just absolutely love that in this big figure form. Of course, doesn't really do a whole lot movement wise, but don't really need it to. Just as long as it stands there and looks cool is all I really need, and that's what it's doing for me. So really awesome for this 2-pack of Godzilla versus Superman. So let me know what you thought of these two figures down in the comments, and if you enjoyed my review, let me know with that like and hit the subscribe button to see more. But I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all stay awesome out there, and I'll see you in our next review.